They say the workplace is like a second home, but what happens when that home turns into a trap? Welcome to Truthin, where real stories expose the hidden, the harrowing, and the horrifying. In today's episode, you'll hear the shocking confession of a woman whose boss offered to save her job, but only at a disturbing cost. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. Let's dive in.
Today, we're diving deep into a story that's powerful and, sadly, pretty common. It's about power, manipulation.
Yeah, it really is.
And just the incredible courage it takes to stand up against workplace abuse.
And this deep dive, it's based on a very detailed, very personal account shared with us by a listener. We're calling her Sarah. She's a 28-year-old marketing pro.
Right.
And her experience, it really gives us a critical lens on how, a dream job opportunity can just get twisted into this huge personal battle.
So our mission today is, well, partly to understand Sarah's fighting back when it feels like everything's against you.
Yeah.
But also, what does that fight mean? Not just for her, but for workplace culture generally. How can we make things safer? Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So Sarah's story starts at TechFlow Solutions. It's a growing software company down in Austin, Texas. And it really did start like a dream job.
Mm-hmm. Fresh out of grad school, MBA.
Yep, lands at this place that looks like the perfect modern workplace, right? Open floor plan, ping pong.
Hair, snacks, the whole deal.
Exactly. And this charismatic CEO, Marcus Webb, who was about 45 then.
And her direct boss, James Richardson, VP of Marketing, he's 38. He seemed like the perfect mentor at first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, praising her work all the time, putting her forward for development stuff, really fostered this positive feeling initially.
Yeah. Okay.
And that early setup, that seemingly great environment, it's actually key to understanding why it was so hard for Sarah to even spot the subtle changes later on.
Right, because things felt good at the start. So for the first 6 months, she's doing great, working hard, long hours, sure, but feeling like she's learning constantly.
Totally engaged.
But looking back, she realized, there were red flags, things she either didn't see or maybe, explained away. What kind of things are we talking about early on?
Well, and this is what's so insidious, right? They're subtle, designed to make you question yourself almost. Like Jane standing just a bit too close sometimes. Or complimenting her appearance right alongside praising her work. So it gets mixed together.
Blurring the lines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then occasional after-hours texts.
Yeah.
Maybe about work. Maybe. Not quite. Just testing boundaries.
Yeah.
It's like that frog in boiling water analogy,
Yeah, the heat turns up so slowly.
You don't notice until it's too late.
Yeah.
And the company culture, that played a role too. There was this unspoken pressure, apparently, to join after-work drinks. Heavy drinking sometimes.
Right.
And Sarah felt if she said no, she might get left out of projects, important conversations. It created this feeling like you had to participate to get ahead.
Okay, so that's the backdrop. Then comes the first really clear warning sign. It was at the annual company retreat in October up in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah mentioned she was trying to watch her drinking, but James, he was drinking pretty heavily. People start leaving for the night.
Right.
And James insists she stay. One more drink, he says, to discuss a project.
The classic excuse.
Pretty much. The conversation quickly goes off topic. He starts making more personal comments, tells her she has natural charisma.
Okay.
And then subtly, hand on her lower back. Later, in the elevator, stands way too close.
Wow. That's not subtle.
She went to bed feeling really unsettled, but, her first reaction was to rationalize it. Maybe he just drank too much, didn't mean anything by it.
Which is such a common way to cope initially, right? To try and minimize it. But connecting this to the bigger picture, that retreat incident, that was clearly a turning point.
How so?
Well, after the retreat, James's behavior started shifting more obviously. He began scheduling more one-on-one meetings, closed-door meetings, which wasn't his usual style with her before.
Okay.
And in these meetings, he started asking more personal questions about her outside work, relationship status, long-term plans, things not really relevant to her job, and the compliments about her work. They started getting tangled up with comments about how she looked, her personality, and he'd suggest after-work drinks, framing it as professional development.
Ah, the mentorship angle again.
Exactly. It's a classic grooming tactic, really. Slowly breaking down boundaries under a plausible cover.
So things are escalating. Then, late November, it gets much worse. Sarah's working on this huge campaign, big product launch, really visible project for her.
High stakes.
Totally. She's working late one evening, finalizing details, alone with James in the office. And that's when he makes his first, explicit move.
Oh, boy.
Moves his chair closer, puts his hand on her thigh.
Oh.
Says he's personally interested in her, suggests they go out for dinner, clearly not for work.
Okay, that's terrifyingly direct. How did she react?
She immediately moved away, politely but very firmly said no, explained she liked to keep her personal and professional lives separate. She really hoped that would be enough, that he'd back off.
That takes guts to be direct like that in the moment. But facing that kind of advance, beyond the fear for her job, what's the immediate psychological hit? And, what do people usually try first to just manage it before going official?
Yeah, that's the awful dilemma, isn't it? The immediate feeling is often just shock, feeling violated, and this huge wave of fear. Fear of losing your job, your reputation, fear they won't believe you.
Right.
So Sarah's first steps, trying to handle it internally, super common. She started making sure she was never alone with him. If they had to meet, she'd try to have someone else there or do it in an open space.
Smart. Creating witnesses, basically.
Exactly. And she started documenting everything, dates, times, what happened, in a private journal, just in case.
Crucial. Absolutely crucial.
And she tried redirecting the conversation whenever he got inappropriate, diplomatically steering it back to work, hoping he'd just get the message.
But unfortunately, people like James often don't get the message, or they choose not to. They might even interpret that diplomacy as encouragement, like she's playing hard to get.
Which seems to be exactly what happened. His behavior didn't stop, maybe even got bolder.
Yeah, reinforcing that power imbalance.
And then came the breaking point. Mid-December, right before the holidays, and it was tied directly to that big campaign budget she needed approved.
The leverage point.
Precisely. James, who'd been supportive before, suddenly starts expressing concerns, says maybe she doesn't have enough experience, needs more mentoring.
Oh, you're the mentoring again.
And then he drops the bomb, proposes a weekend trip to his cabin in the hill country, framed as a focused mentoring opportunity.
Unbelievable.
But the way he described it, wine by the fireplace, getting to know her better in a more intimate setting, there was zero doubt about his real intentions.
That is textbook quid pro quo sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Just blatant. For listeners, quid pro quo, it's Latin, something for something.
Right.
It means your job benefits, your security, your promotion, whatever.
Yeah.
It's tied to you giving in to sexual demands. He was explicitly linking her project's success, maybe even her job, to her going on this trip, using his power to try and coerce her. And when she hesitated, what happened?
His whole demeanor changed, got cold, accused her of lacking commitment, not being willing to do what it takes to succeed.
Ugh. Weaponizing her ambition against her. That just shows how vulnerable junior employees are in these power dynamics.
Absolutely. That night, she called her best friend, Michelle. Turns out Michelle is an employment lawyer.
Wow, okay. That's fortunate.
Incredibly. Michelle heard the story and immediately said, "That's textbook sexual harassment. You need to report this."
Clear legal advice.
But Sarah was terrified, worried about being labeled a troublemaker, wrecking her career just as it was starting, especially since James had been there a long time, seemed connected with the higher-ups.
And that is the crushing internal conflict, isn't it? Wanting justice, needing it, but terrified of the fallout, the very real fear of retaliation, of career suicide.
Totally.
So even with her friend, the lawyer, telling her to report, it was still Sarah's call. What did she decide to do next?
She decided to try one last thing before going to HR. She requested a formal meeting with James, specifically to set clear professional boundaries, hoping maybe, just maybe, a direct, formal confrontation would work.
Yeah, giving him one final chance to back off. How did that go?
It was chilling, apparently, and it really showed his true colors. He got defensive immediately, accused her of misinterpreting his mentoring efforts.
Of course, flipping the script.
And then he basically told her the business world is tough, and successful women, they need to understand how to leverage all their assets to get ahead. Said she seemed naive about how things really worked higher up.
Wow, just wow. That's not just harassment, that's victim blaming and condescension rolled into one.
And then came the undeniable threat. He started talking about budget constraints, how some positions might need to be eliminated soon, directly linking her job security to her refusal of his advances.
Okay, that crosses a huge line. Explicit threat of retaliation. Silence is just not an option after that.
Exactly. So before going to HR, she did her homework. She meticulously documented everything she could remember, dates, times, witnesses, if any, saved any weird texts or emails.
Smart. That documentation is gold.
And she started talking very discreetly to some other women in the company, and what she found was disturbing.
Let me guess, she wasn't the first.
Not even close. Two other women, Jennifer and Maria, shared stories of really similar inappropriate behavior from James. Maybe not identical, but a clear pattern.
See, that changes everything. It's not just her word against his anymore. It shows a pattern, a history. That corroboration is incredibly powerful.
Definitely. So armed with her detailed notes and these other accounts, Sarah set up a meeting with the head of HR, Patricia Coleman.
Okay, the official report. That must have been incredibly difficult.
She said it was, reliving months of this stuff, detailing really uncomfortable things. But Patricia, the HR head, seemed professional at first, supportive, thanked her, said the company took it seriously.
Standard HR initial response? Often. But did things stay that way?
Nope. Almost immediately, Sarah started noticing subtle changes. Retaliation.
So for you listening, retaliation is basically any negative action taken against an employee because they reported something like harassment. It's illegal, but often hard to prove when it's subtle.
Right, like suddenly she wasn't getting put on key projects, left out of meetings she should have been in, quietly sidelined.
That's a huge challenge, right? Keeping things confidential and preventing that subtle retaliation while an investigation is ongoing. What was the investigation itself like for Sarah?
She described it as invasive, traumatic even. They questioned her repeatedly, not just about James's actions, but about her clothes, her social life after work. Did she ever give James the wrong idea?
Ugh. Putting the victim on trial, that is unfortunately so common. It's like a secondary victimization by the process itself.
Yeah. It felt like they were looking for ways to blame her or at least dilute her claims.
So after all that, what was the official outcome of the investigation? This took about 3 weeks, you said.
Nearly 3 weeks, yeah. The company's response. Deeply disappointing and very telling. Patricia called Sarah in, told her that while there was some evidence of inappropriate behavior...
Some evidence after corroboration.
Right. It wasn't sufficient proof, in their view, to justify terminating James's employment.
Unbelievable. So what were they going to do?
Their resolution, as they called it. James would get counseling on workplace behavior. He'd have to attend sensitivity training. Basically, a slap on the wrist.
Minimal consequences for him and for Sarah.
They proposed transferring her to a different department to eliminate ongoing conflicts.
Punishing the victim. Moving her, not the perpetrator. That just screams risk management, not justice. Protect the senior guy. Manage the liability.
Exactly. It showed their real priority wasn't protecting employees. It was protecting the company and a senior executive.
And this really highlights a systemic issue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just about one bad apple. It's about corporate structures that prioritize avoiding lawsuits over creating a genuinely safe culture. It makes you ask, what even is justice in a corporate setting that's mainly focused on liability?
It's a heavy question. Sarah, understandably, rejected their resolution. She saw it for what it was. Retaliation, a violation of her rights.
Good for her. What happened then?
Patricia, the HR head, then basically warned her off, talked about how costly and difficult legal action would be, how it could hurt her reputation, trying to scare her off.
Thinly veiled threats.
Yeah. But Sarah said that actually just made her more determined. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong.
So she talked to lawyers again, her friend Michelle, others?
Yes. They confirmed she had strong grounds, both for the original harassment and for the retaliation claim, based on the transfer offer and the warnings.
Right.
And ironically, the company's terrible handling of the complaint, the weak investigation, the proposed solution, it actually made her legal case stronger.
That's a key point. How an employer mishandles a complaint can create even more legal trouble for them.
Yep.
It backfires.
So after weeks of thinking it over, weighing the stress and cost of a lawsuit against the need for accountability, Sarah made the incredibly tough call.
She decided to sue.
She decided to resign first and then pursue legal action. She wrote a resignation letter clearly stating why. The company's failure to address the harassment and the subsequent retaliation.
Wow, walking away from the job.
Her last day, she said, was surreal. James actually came over to her desk, wished her luck, acted like everything was totally normal between them.
The audacity, just incredible.
So began the legal battle, and it was tough, just like the lawyers warned.
How long did it take?
18 months, a year and a half of legal discovery, depositions, mediation attempts that failed.
That's a long time to be in limbo.
Absolutely. She had to relive everything over and over under oath. The company's lawyers were aggressive, tried to paint her as disgruntled, someone who misunderstood things.
Trying to discredit her?
While James's lawyers portrayed him as this dedicated mentor figure, she said the toll on her mental health, her finances, it was enormous. And finding a new job while all this was going on, almost impossible.
The system can feel designed to wear victims down, can't it?
It really can. But despite all that hardship, Sarah found strength in unexpected places.
Like where?
Well, her friend Michelle was her rock, guiding her through the legal maze. Her family, who were initially maybe a bit skeptical, became huge supporters once they understood everything.
That support system is vital.
Crucial. And she connected with other women who'd faced similar things, not just at TechFlow, but elsewhere. Finding that solidarity, knowing she wasn't alone, that was hugely validating for her. She realized this wasn't just her story, it was part of a much bigger pattern.
That sense of shared experience can be incredibly empowering. So how did the legal case finally end?
It ended with a confidential settlement.
Okay, so financial compensation, presumably.
Yes, which helped cover some of the immense costs she'd incurred personally and professionally. But crucially, the settlement wasn't just about money.
What else was in it?
It required TechFlow solutions to make real changes, implement comprehensive anti-harassment training, actually improve their reporting system so people felt safer coming forward. And this is key, agree to external monitoring of their workplace practices for several years.
Okay, that's significant. Actual systemic change mandated by the settlement.
Exactly. And James, he quietly left the company a few months later. The official story was he was pursuing new opportunities.
Right, managed exit. But the point is, Sarah's courage, backed by legal action, forced tangible changes that could help protect others there. That ripple effect is so important.
Absolutely. And the whole experience, it fundamentally changed Sarah's perspective on corporate culture, on workplace rights, everything.
Also,
She realized that so many things considered normal in professional settings can actually be subtle forms of discrimination or harassment, especially impacting women.
opened her eyes to the systemic stuff.
Totally. So today, she's actually working as a marketing director, but for a nonprofit. One focused specifically on workplace equality and employee rights.
Wow. Using her skills for advocacy.
Exactly. She uses her marketing background to push for better policies, and she actively mentors other women going through similar awful situations, turning her own trauma into a way to help others.
That's incredible. Her real victory isn't just the settlement, is it? It's rebuilding her life, her career, on her own terms, refusing to be defined by the abuse.
For sure.
And her story just underscores how critical support systems are: friends, family, legal help. But she also acknowledges, her own advantages, having a lawyer friend, having resources.
Right.
And that's why she now works for systemic change, to protect everyone, not just people who happen to have those resources readily available. Because that fight for broader change, that's often the toughest part, pushing against that corporate inertia, but it's where the biggest difference is made long term.
Absolutely right. And her story is such a clear lesson. Policies on paper, they're not enough. You need real commitment from the top. You need a cultural shift where people actually feel safe, where dignity matters more than just looking good.
And constant vigilance. It's not a one-and-done thing.
No. And Sarah's message to victims is clear. Document everything. Seek support friends, professionals, and remember, crucially, it is never, ever your fault.
Never. The blame lies with the perpetrator, and often with the organization that failed to stop them or protect you.
And for employers, her story is just a stark warning. Ignoring or mishandling harassment, the legal costs, the financial hit, the damage to your reputation, it's immense and completely avoidable if you just do the right thing from the start.
Yeah.
Sarah's deep dive into this painful reality, it really shows the kind of guts it takes to speak truth to power. Her story, it's proof that one person fighting for justice can have a ripple effect, making things safer and more equitable for everyone else down the line.
Definitely. Her journey, from being a victim to becoming this powerful advocate, it shows that even though the personal cost is huge, fighting back can lead to positive change. And that makes the struggle worthwhile. Every single act of courage, every report filed, every person who refuses to stay silent, it all adds up. It chips away at that culture of acceptance and helps shift things slowly but surely. It really is a marathon.
So thinking about Sarah's experience, what stands out to you listening? We want to leave you with this question. What responsibility do we all have as individuals, as colleagues, maybe as leaders, not just to react when something awful happens, but to actively work to prevent it, to build workplaces where power is used for good, not for exploitation? Something to think about.